Hello everyone, welcome back to this another demo on IAM. So as soon as you log into your console, just search for IAM. So if I go over here, right, you can see the different types of IAM resources here. So in this case, right, we are going to look into IAM policies. So I can just click onto here. So I want to create a custom policy. So I'll access an S3 object. So what I'll be doing is like I'll be choosing S3. So to access the object, you need to use get object. So you don't need to understand these access and permissions. So once I have done right, I'll just use all the resources I want to do. So I'll show you. So this is the JSON format. So AWS provides us an policy generator through which, right, you can generate the JSON automatically. So from this, right, let's discuss what are the things. The SID is nothing but the statement ID. For this particular statement, right, we will be giving an unique ID for this. Effect is nothing but like whether we need to allow or deny this particular action for the resources. So action is nothing but what are the action that you need to perform. Let's say creating an EC2 instance or uploading to an S3 bucket or accessing some other resources, right? That will be your action. And resource, right? A resource is nothing but on what resource, let it be an particular EC2 instance or a particular bucket, right? In which particular instance you want to perform these actions. So in this case, right, I have given a wildcard star. Star means like you can perform this action, right, on all the resources. So that's what it means. So once you have done this statement, right, and also you can add multiple statements in a particular policy. So once you have done those things, right, you can just click on next and give it a proper name like S3 read policy. Once you give a proper name, right, you can just create this policy. So, yep. So your policy would have been created. We can search for it. S3 read. So if you can see here, right, our policy has been created. S3 read policy, which is a customer managed policy, and we can see the actions and authorizations provided here. So using this policy, right, we can attach this policy to users and groups. Let's assume like I'll create a new user and assign that policy for you. So let's assume someone in your organization or your colleague, right, wants to perform these actions. Let's say I'll be creating a user called Bob. So next, so I can attach policies directly to Bob, which is S3 read. So you can see our policies over here, right? Can attach the policy to Bob, and then the other things are pretty normal. We can create a user for Bob. So that's it. So now Bob can access the S3 read policy. Using this S3 read policy, he can access the S3 objects and stuffs. So that's how we can do. Let's say in some cases, right, you want to assign the same policy to multiple users instead of creating and adding it to multiple users over and over again, right? So what you can do is like you can go ahead and create a group for them. So let's assume like a S3 read group. So what I'll do is like I'll just allocate Bob here and then assign the policy as 3 read policy to Bob. So if you see here, right, it's not popping up because Bob already has that access. So if I now go back to users, right, I'll create another user called Foo. So I have created Foo, right? If I come back to the group section and select Foo, right, history read. So if I just select, okay, my bad. Okay, you can see here, right? So what it will do is like this policy will be applied to the list of users which are allocated in this group. So you can manage your policies and stuffs, right? In a unified way. You don't need to log in or check in that each user and update their policies. So it will reduce the operational stuffs and we can perform your operations efficiently. So another thing to look into is roles. So currently, as you have seen, right, you have attached an policy to an a user. User is nothing but an human or some other. particular stuff. So roles are nothing but will be the same similar stuff, but it will be used by another AWS resource. Let it be an EC2 instance or an compute instance, any compute resources, right? So instead of providing the username password directly to them, what we can do is like we can create a new role. If you see here, right? Let's say EC2 instance wants to access the S3 stuff. So we'll choose EC2 instance and then click on next. So we'll look for that S3 read. So if you see here, yep. And then we'll give an EC2 read role. So once you have done that, right, so how it will work behind the scenes is like whenever you are creating an EC2 instance, right, you can attach this particular row to that particular EC2 instance. So that, right, we do not directly configure a username and password to that EC2 instance. Instead, what that EC2 instance will do is like using this role, right, it will create an temporary credentials which will be valid for like 30 minutes or 1 hour based on the settings we have configured. So for the particular time, right, the credentials will be used and it will be terminated. Again, when your EC2 instances tries to use the same role, right, it will again generate a new set of temporary credentials. So that, right, we are avoiding the risk of, if your access keys or credentials gets leaked, right, since your credentials are only valid for a short duration, right, we are reducing the risk of compromise and stuffs. Okay, that's it for this lecture. See you again in another lecture. Thank you all.